There was a shout from the palace ordering everyone to get out of the palace. The main character said that the girl was at it again today. The capricious princess said she didn't want to eat. This girl was born with a golden spoon in her mouth. She is the evil daughter of the Duke. Bullying the servants day and night has become her habit. The girl was picky about her food and prone to breaking dishes while eating. She has a terrible reputation among her stepmothers, whom she kicked out. Rebecca Petrie was the only daughter of the Petrie family. The girl threw her stepmother a cube, and because of it, the protagonist hurt herself. But instead of apologizing, the girl said that she told her to leave her alone. The girl thought that because of her experience in kindergarten, it was not an easy task for her, and unfortunately, she had to deal with children like Rebecca. Suddenly, the girl screamed and said it wasn't her fault. So it all started 15 days ago. The protagonist died. She was chasing a small child as if she was possessed by something. Then she was hit by a car, and when she came to her senses, she became Leon from another world. The girl was sitting in a carriage, but she couldn't understand what she was doing here. She was approached by a man who was traveling with her and said that some time ago she behaved differently and that she did not really know the situation. It was the head of the Duchy of Petrie, Jan Petrie. The girl remembered how they used to tell her that she was lazy. She didn't work and sat in the attic. They wanted to sell her for the Petrie family. Her family didn't care what would happen to her. The main thing was that they were paid money for the main character. The girl was bought by the head of the Petrie family. The place she's headed to is full of terrible rumors. Employees of the mansion suddenly disappear, and what is possible, they are sold and tortured. It's a dark family in which the villain of the novel grows up. The man turned to Leon and said that whatever rumors the girl had heard about him, that she should be sure that he would not beat her or lock her up in a horrible place, and just so she would remember to do is to take care of Rebecca. The first day at the mansion, the girl could only hope for one thing. All she knew was that the future wasn't going to be smooth. Leona arrived at the mansion. The girl pointed her finger at her and asked who it was. The girl greeted the girl and thought about how cute she was. Rebecca said that Leon didn't greet her respectfully enough, therefore, and to get out of here. Jan Petrie said he could introduce them officially. He introduced his daughter Rebecca, and that today she would be her mom. Leon asked what kind of stepmother she was. The girl had heard that the worst death of the third wife was when she fell down the stairs running away from Rebecca. The girl turned to her father and asked indignantly if he had called her to see her stepmother, for it annoyed her very much. Jan said that if she had already said hello, she could go. Rebecca said that she didn't want to leave just because her dad said so, and that she would only leave because she wanted to, and closed the door loudly. Jan told Leon to follow her because he wanted to show her her room. He opened the door and said that she was not suitable for a special room yet, so she would stay here for the time being. It was a rather poor room, but she was glad of that because Jan hadn't said a word on the way here, so she thought he was taking her to a dungeon or something like that. The Duke told her to rest and that she would start looking after the baby from tomorrow. In the novel, Rebecca wanted to become empress. As expected, she managed to get betrothed to a prince, but she was dethroned because of her endless misdeeds of poisoning the new princess, and eventually, Rebecca was executed. Leon looked at herself in the mirror and told herself what a miserable life she has. The girl doesn't know what to do, because tomorrow she will start working and she will have to take care of the little girl from tomorrow. Meanwhile, the girl in her room screams that the new stepmother is annoying her. A voice from the room told her that if the girl did as she said, there would be no problem. Rebecca smiled wryly at her and said she was right. The Duke turned to the servants and asked how Rebecca was and that he hoped she was getting along well with her new stepmother, but he was in for some disappointing news. Jan Petrie came to Leon's room. The girl was sitting at the table eating breakfast. The Duke asked her what she was doing because she was supposed to take care of the girl, but instead, she did not leave her room. Leon was very happy to see the Duke, for she had someone to talk to for the first time in a week. The girl hurriedly explained that the staff ignored her as if they didn't notice her. As soon as she left the room, she was in trouble. No matter how hard she tried to find the children's bedroom, she could not find it. Jan Petrie said that making excuses was useless. Leon replied that she was not making excuses, but telling the truth, and could he take her to Rebecca's room. They entered the girl's room. Jan Petrie turned to Rebecca and announced that he had returned. The girl was sitting on the bed with a displeased face. The Duke turned to the princess and told her that he had brought her mother. The girl was indignant and asked what mother she was talking about because she hadn't seen her for a week and she didn't care where she was or what she was doing. Leon said she'd been looking for her but couldn't find her. All the maids who ignored her couldn't tell her where her room was and always said they knew where she was. Rebecca poked her finger at the girl and shouted furiously that it didn't matter and that she shouldn't be proud of it, not to mention that she had fallen down in the middle of the hallway. Leon asked suspiciously from where did she know that from, and did she really see the whole thing? Jan stopped their argument and turning to Leon said that he had informed her on the first day to just take care of the baby. At that moment, a servant entered the room and said there was an urgent matter. The Duke turned to Rebecca and said that he had brought the girl to take care of her. Leon stroked the girl's head and asked if they would get along well. Rebecca threw the girl's hand away and shouted indignantly that how dare she touch her and covered herself with her hair. The princess turned to the maids and asked if they were going to stand by and watch this. If they let Leon get close to her, she would not forgive them and pointed her finger at the girl. The girl smiled and thought about where the girl had learned to point her finger and say such harsh words. Suddenly, a statuesque woman came in and asked why it was so noisy. Leon asked who she was. The woman said it was their first meeting and her name was Giselle. She was the princess's nanny and she had been taking care of the girl for a long time. Giselle noticed that Rebecca was still uncomfortable around her stepmother and what appeared to be her presence, and the nanny suggested that Leon just leave. The protagonist noticed that the nanny was hiding behind a mask of a smile. The girl turns to Giselle and says she appreciates her offer, but doesn't she need more time to get closer to the child? The nanny, with a snide smile on her face, asked Rebecca who should leave Giselle's room or her stepmother. The princess asked why the nanny should leave and for the stepmother to leave her room. Leon smiled at the girl and told her that she didn't tell the nanny to leave and that it's not the right attitude for an adult. And if the princess wanted anything, let her ask her politely first. The girl only growled at her remark. The nanny turned to Leon and said that she thought it was wrong to force someone to do something. Giselle threatened the girl and said that if the Duke found out that his daughter was treated like that, what the Duke would think. The protagonist remembered that Jan Petri told her that while she was taking care of the girl, if she did anything suspicious towards her, she would be executed. Leon said that she is not forcing the girl to do anything bad because she is just trying to teach her the right things to do, and it is important to realize that just asking the child to make a choice about who to leave would not be competent. She also added that she hopes Nanny understands this because Leon cares about her child anyway. The nanny said that if the girl said that, then Giselle would leave and the stepmother could do as she wanted. Leon thought about the fact that it was the nanny who looked like some kind of evil lady. The girl turns to Rebecca and says that if she doesn't want to see her face, she doesn't have to look at her. And anyway, she will come to Rebecca every day and will always be there for her, so she wants to know why she doesn't like the girl. Leon grew up in an orphanage without parents, and she knows what a child is missing. Rebecca said that the babysitter told her to say that since the first and second stepmother left, the third stepmother will leave too, so you shouldn't be friends with stepmothers. Leon was shocked by this information and asked if it was the woman who told the princess. Meanwhile, the nanny was eavesdropping on their conversation. On a rainy night, Rebecca was sleeping in her bed, and she woke up to the fact that the nanny entered the room. The girl asked where her father and stepmother were and why no one was there. Giselle answered that the Duke was busy with his official duties, and the stepmother left, saying that it was too difficult for her. Everyone left the princess, but that she should not worry because the nanny will always be by her side. The girl was not really to blame because all this time the nanny was behind it all, and a child who knows nothing would follow the nanny's words like a doll. In the morning, the servants in the palace turned to Leon and greeted her. They said it was time for the princess to eat, and they brought food. Leon asked Rebecca if she wanted to eat, but the girl reacted very strongly to her stepmother's words and only shouted that she didn't want to eat. Leon was amazed at the child's reaction and said that if the Duke found out that the girl had not eaten, he would scold her. But the princess continued to capriciously repeat that she did not want to eat and that she would only do what she wanted. The maid said that this happens every meal because Miss refuses to eat, so it's a lot of trouble. Leon saw a lot of sweets on the maid's tray and asked if it was food for the child. The maid said that it would be good if Rebecca ate something because if she is not fed, she will not eat. Leon asked the maid if they could bring a proper meal. As the child is growing and gaining strength and a balanced meal is important at every age, it is impossible to eat only sweets. Rebecca asked her stepmother indignantly why she had interfered. The girl answered that she was her mother, and she wanted the girl to be healthy and eat right, because as a mother, she should look after her and take care of her. Meanwhile, the maid brought a tray of food. Leon told her to put it on the table. The girl sat down at the table, but Rebecca sat near the sofa and did not want to come. Leon asked if she would eat. The girl replied that a little would be fine if she had food brought to her at the place she said. The stepmother said that if she wanted to eat, to come over and sit at the dinner table. Rebecca asked her if she had become a mother and if she had come to get the money. Leon said that she was right and she had been paid the money, so she could not leave. The girl remembered what the babysitter said about her saying that everyone had abandoned her, and so she answered her stepmother that she was lying. Leon asked the girl why she would lie and she would never leave her, because she would not and could not leave, so they would always be together, and asked if she would eat. The princess was surprised at her stepmother's words and sat down to eat. Leon explained to the girl that eating should take place at the dinner table, but Rebecca only looked at Leon with arrogance. Late at night, the stepmother left the girl's room, glad that she had been able to put her to bed. She had to go back to her room, but she saw a dark corridor in front of her, and she didn't know how to get back there because it was dark, and she didn't know the way. Suddenly, Leon was approached, and she was very frightened. It turned out to be the Duke, and he said it was their first meeting and his name was Luca. Leon was very surprised by this because she thought his name was Ian. Luca replied that he had received orders from the Duke to take Lady Leona to her room. The protagonist noticed that as they walked to her room, the atmosphere next to Luca was different from when she was with the Duke. The girl turned to Luca and asked if he works for the Duke because he doesn't look like a normal employee. Luca answered that he works as a knight in the duchy and mostly does the Duke's errands. At that moment, they had already reached Leon's room. The guy said that his work was over and that he would come for her again tomorrow. The girl wanted to ask him about his relationship with the Duke, but Luca interrupted her, and it was felt that the conversation was interrupted on purpose. Leon thought about the fact that they were too similar not to be related. The girl was worried about how she would work with this girl in the future because it was very hard. Leon and Rebecca were sitting at the table eating. The stepmother was looking at the girl and couldn't get enough of her. Rebecca noticed this and told her not to look at her like that. Leon replied that now she was eating without her reminding her, so she was very happy about it. As expected with each meal, Rebecca's stubbornness did not give in any way. So Leon had a plan. First of all, they had to stick to the meal times. Secondly, eating together in the same place was a prerequisite. And after a few days, the stubborn Rebecca gave in. But there were still a lot of difficulties ahead, because the girl still didn't eat vegetables. Luca accompanied Leon every day and told her many things that Rebecca liked, but the nanny stayed away from the child. The girl was worried that Rebecca didn't eat well at her age, even though she should have been 5 years old by now. The girl got up from the table and said that she had already eaten, so she would play, and that she was not small at her age. Leon said that a 5-year-old was still small, and the girl said that she didn't know what she was talking about and smiled sweetly. Leon thought that it was the first time she had seen Rebecca smile, and she was glad that she had opened up to her a little. The girl asked her stepmother why she was not leaving since she had already eaten. Leon asked if she should leave. Rebecca said that she was only allowed to stay here today. The princess asked the girl when her father would arrive. But the Duke was away because of the epidemic, and it would be good for him to spend time with the child before he left. Leon replied that he would be back soon and asked if Rebecca missed her father, but the girl said nothing. The stepmother suggested that the girl go to the garden today and said she would play by the fountain. Rebecca hadn't gone outside to play in a long time, and she looked happy now. Leon was sitting in the gazebo and drinking tea, and the maid who had brought sweets came over. The girl thanked the maid and asked if her name was May. May looked at the main character with delight and said that she was right. Leon told her that she was very kind to her, and the other maids didn't speak to her. May told the girl that the thing was that she was in love with Leon. The girl couldn't believe her ears, and the maid said that after Leona came, there was much less trouble, and there was no need to fight with the princess every time. Most likely because of Giselle, the other maids do that to Leona, and many of the workers here have long known whose side to take. May narrated that there is no need for hatred, so the girl has to be careful. Leon asked why she thought so. The maid said that as far as she had heard, Giselle was a competent nanny appointed by the imperial family, so she had the Duke's trust. Rumor has it that the previous nanny was kicked out when Giselle arrived. Since everyone is just a servant, they can easily be kicked out, and since she was chosen by the imperial family, the Duke had no choice but to approve her. That's why they were so relieved when Lady Leona got into an argument with the nanny. Judging by the fact that the Duke was away now, she was recommended as an important figure. While the girls were talking, they didn't notice Princess Rebecca had disappeared somewhere, and they started looking for her. May said that it was strange, for she did not usually go so far away, and suggested that perhaps she had gone to the labyrinth garden. If you go into it without knowing the way, you can get lost. So the girls decided to look for her there. Leon thought that she could not imagine that such a labyrinth existed here, because the mansion was very large. It turned out that Rebecca was in this maze. Leon ran up to her and told her that she had been looking for her all this time and asked why the girl had left alone. Rebecca didn't answer her question and wouldn't even look at Leon. The princess ran up to May and told her to take her to her room. When they got back to the palace, the stepmother asked the girl what they could play today, but Rebecca just turned away and stared at the wall in silence. Leon asked why she didn't talk to her, and the girl said that she didn't like her, so the girl didn't talk to the princess because she annoyed her. The girl thought about the fact that they were back where they started, but suddenly, if she came to see her every day, they would become closer. But all her attempts were in vain. Leon thought they had gotten a little closer, but it seems she was wrong, and suddenly Luca approached her. He said it looked like the girl had a lot on her mind. Leon said she was surprised to see him, and for him to give a sign when he comes. The guy apologized and said he had come for her, but she wasn't in the room, and asked where the princess had gone. The girl replied that Rebecca had been avoiding her lately and wouldn't let her work. Luca suggested that Leon take a walk before she went to her room. He assumed that she would feel better after a walk in the fresh air. Luca and Leon chatted about something as they walked around the garden. He asked not to hate Rebecca too much because Miss was too fragile. The girl said that he seemed to know Rebecca well, and the guy replied that he had been watching her since she was born. Suddenly, Leon noticed that they had reached the labyrinth garden, and she didn't think they would go that far. Suddenly, she saw the nanny outside the labyrinth gate, and the girl wondered why she was going there at such a time. She hadn't seen Nanny since she'd been suspended. Luca, seeing Leon flying around in the clouds, asked her what she was thinking about, but she said that she was thinking about Rebecca and that she couldn't understand why she had suddenly changed. Suddenly, she remembered that Rebecca had changed after the moment when she had been in the labyrinth garden, and the girl suggested that the nanny might have approached the child. Leon thanked Luca for the walk and said that she had an emergency and needed to leave. Leon wants to try to deal with the nanny alone. She cannot trust Luca in this matter, and she is going to inform the Duke personally. During the night, the Duke arrives and is greeted by Giselle. Jan asked her how Rebecca was feeling and that he had found a cure for her. Giselle replied that the princess had just fallen asleep. The Duke ordered her to give her the medicine as soon as the girl woke up and that he would come to check on her in the morning. The nanny said she wanted to ask him not to visit the princess yet, as she thought that the emotional background might aggravate her illness and she needed more rest. Jan instructed her to concentrate on caring for the baby. When the Duke left, the nanny only looked coldly at his back. The Duke was sitting and looking at the precious amulet, when suddenly there was a knock at the door and said that Leona asked to see him. Duke and Leon were walking through the garden talking about the nanny being suspicious of something. Leon said that she wasn't sure yet, but she had a feeling about it. The Duke replied that it's not possible because Rebecca's nanny was sent by the imperial family, and after so many checks, they were convinced of the nanny's competence. He has a long-standing relationship with the emperor. The emperor once told the Duke that he has done a great job, and even though he is surrounded by many political enemies, thanks to the Duke, he feels safe. The emperor asked the Duke with one request: he needed to do the dirty work of the empire on behalf of the emperor. Leon asked Jan if he was worried about Rebecca. The Duke replied that she looked suspicious. Suddenly, from deep within the labyrinth garden, they heard Nanny's voice. Near the gazebo in the labyrinth stood Nanny and Rebecca, as if they had arranged to meet here. The nanny said she had brought medicine for the girl. Rebecca said that it was unpalatable, and she didn't want to drink it. Giselle said that she had told the girl that it should just be swallowed and that she would ask the maids to bring her some tasty snacks because she needed to drink it before bedtime. Rebecca asked the nanny how long they would have to see each other in secret. Giselle replied that unfortunately, she was not allowed to enter her room yet because the lady would not listen to her and that she said she would always be there for the girl. Giselle began to turn the girl against her stepmother, saying that if she wasn't kicked out, she might take the nanny's place, and if that happened, she wouldn't be able to be near Rebecca. The girl succumbed to Giselle's manipulations and was very frightened that the nanny might leave. The nanny said that if the girl did as she said and told the Duke, the stepmother would be thrown out of the palace, and if she did not want to be abandoned, she would have to be a good and obedient child. The girl said that her stepmother had done nothing wrong to her, and she was different from other stepmothers. Giselle got very angry when she heard this and said that because of the girl's indecisiveness, the people around her might abandon her, and of course the girl got scared when she heard these words. As expected, it was all the work of the nanny, and it was obvious that she was controlling the child because for Rebecca, the nanny is everything, and she had no choice but to obey the nanny, taking advantage of the wounded heart of the child who doesn't understand anything. Just like Leon was once afraid of being kicked out of kindergarten. Rebecca remembered Leon's words about how she said she would never leave her, and she told the babysitter that. Giselle got angry and asked when did her girl become bad, and bad children should be punished, and she swung around to hit her. The Duke, who was listening to this conversation, suddenly appeared and stopped the nanny and asked what was going on. The princess, frightened, immediately said that her stepmother, who had been brought by her father, was molesting her, that she had forbidden her to see the nanny and would not let her eat what she wanted. Giselle confirmed this and said that the woman was a nuisance. She also added that she would leave the child alone, implying that the girl should be thrown out. The Duke angrily asked the nanny if she thought he couldn't see or hear, because he could hear her yelling and screaming at the child. Giselle replied that it was discipline and a necessary process to properly raise a child. The Duke grabbed the nanny by the arm and said he would not tolerate manhandling his daughter and ordered her away. Rebecca forbade it and asked what he wanted to do with the nanny because she said that she would never leave her because there was no one around her, and now she would not be a nanny either. Leon explained to the girl that such a nanny is not suitable for her. After all, it was for her own good, and it might be hard to accept now. Giselle asked how dare a man devoted to the emperor do such a thing. The Duke ordered the servants to send her to prison and then send a letter to the palace. Jan asked the girl if this had ever happened before and if she had done as her nanny said. The girl said nothing, but it was clear enough. Rebecca had a fever, and he told Leon to go back to the palace with the child. The Duke saw on the ground near the gazebo a vial with the contents that his daughter was to drink. He picked it up, but could not understand what it was. Leon explained to the Duke that all this time, Rebecca could only rely on her nanny, and such a person meant a lot to her. The girl remarked that he trusted the nanny more than his own daughter. The Duke replied that how could he not trust his child? Leon asked him if he had ever shown any interest in Rebecca. Jan replied that he did everything for her. The girl asked if he knew what the girl had been through over the years, because she only wanted her father to be by her side and asked him to express his love and feelings for the child more often. The maid went to her stepmother and said that Rebecca began to eat badly, and they tried to feed her as she said, but she did not eat a single spoonful. The girl said that she would go to her herself. From that day on, Rebecca was very sick and had a high fever and often fainted, even refusing to eat. Good or bad, the nanny was everything to the girl. It must have come as a shock when the nanny just disappeared and her life. The Duke brought in the former nanny with a good heart, but Rebecca's condition did not improve with the hunger she tried to feed her. But the girl just chased everyone away and was cranky once she threw a thing right at Leon and it bled. For this reason, the Duke sent compensation to the girl's house. Leon was very surprised because he sent her the compensation. Considering that Rebecca did not even apologize, she only said that she was not guilty and should not ask for forgiveness. The Duke replied that in this way he apologized to her house, and moreover, Rebecca was not yet fully recovered and it must have been a mistake. Leon told the Duke that even though the girl was still a baby and not fully recovered, it was worth telling her that she had made a mistake, or it would affect her in the future. Jan replied that it was none of her business, and he would raise the girl as he wished. When it was time for lunch, Leon picked up a wooden hammer. Rebecca was frightened when she saw it and asked why she was using it and whether she wanted to hit her and was trying to take revenge for the previous incident. But the stepmother replied that the hammer was for dessert, so she hit the cakes with it and they fell apart. Rebecca, when she saw that, ran over to the table and said she wanted to try them too. Leon said the girl wouldn't eat her lunch, so if she wanted a yummy treat, let her promise to eat the right food first and then the yummy treats. Rebecca got very angry when she heard these words and said that she would ask Nanny to make them. But the nanny replied that she didn't know the recipe because Leona made the cakes. The girl did her stepmother a favor and said that she would still eat, but that she would give her the whole bake afterwards. Leon replied that she had not said she would give her all of them, so the princess called her a liar, and the stepmother replied that she had not deceived her, for she had said she would give her one if the girl promised her. But Rebecca said why should she do such a thing, for she was a princess and could do anything. Leon replied that in that case she couldn't give her a bees. The girl replied that in that case she would tell her daddy everything. Leon replied that if she told everything, she wouldn't be able to make yummy things, like a delicious biscuit with chocolate dripping out of it. The girl couldn't help herself and said that she would promise her if she made her that biscuit. Since Rebecca made the promise, Leon's anger subsided, and if she would say such words in the future, it would be great. The stepmother said that she would let her have one cake before dinner as a reward and gave her the hammer. The girl grabbed it and ran to the table to break the cakes. The girl liked it very much, but when Leon asked if it was good for her, she said it was not. So the girl said that in that case she would not cook them since she said they were not tasty. The princess said with arrogance that she would let her cook them. When the time came for dinner, Leon went into the girl's room, but her stepmother was met by Rebecca, who was holding a large hare in front of her, and in its paws was a note. In this little note was written only one word: sorry. The girl told Leon that the only person who said she would be there for her was Nanny, but Nanny had been kicked out because of her stepmother, and so Rebecca was a bad girl, and she sincerely asked for forgiveness. The girl went up to Leon and told her that she would not bully anymore, would eat and obey, just so she wouldn't leave, and she even called her mom. The girl hugged Rebecca and promised that of course she wouldn't go anywhere and she would be her mom. She also thanked that Rebecca had apologized to her. But suddenly the girl felt sick and passed out. Princess wasn't a bad kid, she just wants to be loved. A child who was abandoned in an orphanage also Leon once felt when no one was around, so everything can be changed. Suddenly the Duke burst into the room and started asking Leon what his daughter's condition was. The girl answered that she had given medicine, but the fever was high, so it was worth watching her all night. Duke was very concerned about the child's condition, so he told Leon that she should leave the mansion. Because Rebecca's emotional state, fever loss of consciousness appeared the moment she arrived. The girl indignantly asked if it was her fault. The Duke replied that if she had not done anything to Rebecca, she would not have gotten sick. As Leona left the room, she was met by Luca to walk her to her room. As they walked, the guy asked the girl if she was mad at the Duke. The girl said that it was true, and it would be very hard to accept. Luca asked to understand the Duke and the princess, and for her to think hard about what she really wants. Throughout the day, the nanny and the maid told the Duke that Rebecca was doing better now. She was eating well and smiling often, and it was all thanks to Leona. They also told him how she took care of the princess, and when she fainted, Leona never left her side. When Ian was sitting in his room, there was a knock on his door, and it turned out to be the results of the drug the Duke had mentioned. The vial that the former nanny wanted to give to the princess contained poisonous ingredients that were the signs of the girl's illness, and it was sold on the black market. The Duke asked who the head of the black market was. It turned out to be Arvid's family. Also, the imperial family said that the nanny would be punished personally and that His Majesty had ordered them not to interfere. The Duke asked them to tell him that they couldn't follow the order because it was important to keep an eye on the territory. The Duke also said that the imperial family avoided meeting when they had to find out about Arvid's family. After a while, Jan Petri and the Duke of the Arvid family met for negotiations. He was the head of the black market. Duke Arvid said that unlike an old man like him, Jan still looked healthy and had a lot of work to do. Duke Arvid thought that the black market is what pressures other families, but he has nothing else. But if he eliminated the Petrie family that is friends with the imperial family, he would have more power. Arvid offered Jan Petri a stable support in the family, and he could help him with something, and he introduced Astra to him. It was the eldest daughter of the Arvid family. Duke Jan thought that this way maybe he could learn something more about poisonous plants. Rebecca didn't want to eat anything because she had been falling asleep in bed for the last few days, so perhaps her appetite hadn't returned yet. So Leon had an idea and suggested that she go on a picnic. They went out to the garden and had a picnic. Leon made Rebecca the chocolate fountain she had told her about, and the girl was very happy about it. Leon said that since it was a picnic, they should eat something special. For that reason, she decided to make her happy. The girl asked if she could eat it, and her stepmother said that of course she could. She had baked it for her. Rebecca said that Leon said that she had told her to eat the goodies after the right dishes, but she had not eaten them. And why did she give her this cake for nothing? Was it because she had been sick all this time? The girl replied that she was sorry the girl was glowing with happiness, and she really liked this dessert, but she couldn't make it, so for her not to worry, but just enjoy the fondue. Rebecca got excited and said that since she had no choice, she would eat it, and henceforth that Leon would make goodies for her and that the girl forgives her. Suddenly, Astra burst into their tea party to meet the girl. Turns out she and Duke Ian have a special relationship. Rebecca clutched at Leon's skirt and screamed for the ugly woman to leave. Astra said that the princess curses a lot, and the princess's position had not given reason for harsh words before. Leon assumed that if she was acquainted with the Duke, it meant she came as a guest, but Astra said she came as a suitable wife. Leon asked her if they were engaged to the Duke. The princess, when she heard this, ran up to her father and said that this terrible woman had come and spoiled the tea party and was saying she was a wife. The Duke replied that she was just a guest, but Rebecca insisted that he take her back. Jan Petri ordered the girls to follow him to discuss a few important points. The Duke said that Leon was the first to win her daughter's heart. The girl asked him what kind of tricks he was pulling because she couldn't think how petty he was. After all, shouldn't he do what the child wants so he doesn't do that, but does what the girl wants? The Duke replied that after all, you can't rely on feelings because a child gets bored of everything. Leon said that she wouldn't leave because she had promised to be Rebecca's mother. Jan replied that she should do what she wanted because she would regret it in the end. Suddenly, a girl burst into the room and told them not to dare hurt her mom. Duke asked the girl why she was doing this. Rebecca replied that her mom is Leona and they should be together, and she doesn't know what it means to be a wife because she likes her current mom. Ian asked why she liked her so much. Rebecca didn't know how to phrase her sentence properly, so she replied that her mom gives her chocolate. The Duke replied that in that case the maids could do it too. But the princess said that the one who made them was more important to her, and Leona was her first mom. The Duke didn't think that the girl would be so attached to her current stepmother, and Leona was very pleased. The girl ran up to her mother, clinging to her skirt, and asked her not to go anywhere. Jan turned to his daughter and told her that it was for her own good, and if she didn't want to be hurt, and if she wanted to get better soon. But the girl was undeterred and screamed that she didn't want her beloved mother to leave. The Duke suggested that the girl go to the maids and wait for him so the adults could talk, but the princess screamed that she didn't want to go anywhere and wouldn't leave her mother. The Duke concluded that it was useless to argue with the girl and decided to postpone this conversation for later. Rebecca fell asleep right in Leon's arms. The girl assumed that she must be tired and was glad that the temperature did not rise. But at that moment, Astra turned to Leon. She said that the child's thoughts were wrong and she didn't seem to realize it, and that the girl was deluded that she would become a duchess because she came from a poor family with only the status of a marquis. Leon thought that there is nothing wrong with that, and even though Astra's status is high, but her character is terrible and her looks are deceiving. Astra told the girl to enjoy it while she can, because eventually Astra will be the Duke's third wife, and there is already a process of marriage between the families, and it's only a matter of time before it happens. But in the meantime, she ordered that the child be taken care of, calling the girl a temporary stepmother. Leon and Rebecca lay on the bed in the girl's room. When the girl woke up, Leon asked her if she was comfortable, because the bed was old and narrow. She suggested the girl to go to her room, but Rebecca answered that everything was fine, and even though the bed was old and narrow, it was very nice to sleep next to her mom. Leon hugged the girl and said that it was rare to find such a sweet child these days. She also said that Rebecca was the sweetest and most beautiful child in the whole world. Leon paid attention to the girl's rabbit and asked what its name was, and the princess replied that her mother had given it the name Not Beautiful. The stepmother asked why such a name. The girl replied that she named him that because he has long and thin arms, so he is not pretty. He was named so by the mother who gave birth to the girl. Leon felt very sorry for the girl and asked if Rebecca was okay, but the girl said that she was okay because now she had a mom and she was always there for her and would never leave her. Rebecca said that her daddy was really stupid because when he found out that she liked an ugly rabbit, he just bought 100 rabbits. That's why the girl has so many rabbits in her room. Her dad doesn't understand what she really needs. Without even asking her, he always does whatever he wants. Before this didn't happen often, but now it's like he's become a fool. The girl said that her mom is different and not like her dad. Leon asked Rebecca that if the girl's mom becomes like past moms, what will she do if she becomes stupid like her dad? Rebecca replied that she didn't know and that she wanted to love a mom like that so she wouldn't hate her if she changed. The girl apologized and said that she didn't mean that she loved Leon like a rabbit and that she wasn't like him. The girl wanted to help her change, wants to change the child's life. A life that is described in not a few lines until she dies, until she becomes an adult and grows old. She wants to protect her from losing the goodness in her heart. Suddenly in the morning, the nanny knocked on the door and said that the Duke was urgently looking for her and the princess. Leon and the D girl came to her room where the Duke was already waiting for them. Rebecca asked why he woke her up. She was sleeping so well. Duke Jan said he had a present for the girl and wanted to show it to her. It turned out to be a big chocolate rabbit that was made by the best confectioner. Leon thought that this method of parenting was a bit silly, but nevertheless it seemed like he was putting in a lot of effort for his daughter's sake. Suddenly, the Duke was told that His Majesty the Emperor was waiting for him and needed to come as soon as possible. The girl asked her daddy that he was leaving again. The Duke replied that he had to leave immediately and that if she needed anything, she should ask the butler and he would buy whatever she wanted. But Rebecca replied that she did not need presents and asked him not to leave. Ian replied that he couldn't help but leave and that he would be back soon. When the door slammed shut, Rebecca cried and said that her daddy was a fool because all she wanted was to be with her daddy and not with a stupid rabbit. Leon really wanted to help the girl, and she had an idea. She suggested that they make chocolate chip cookies together, and the princess agreed. They made lots and lots of chocolate bunnies. Leon had no idea that Rebecca would enjoy cooking together so much. Rebecca saw Luca by the stove and thought it was her daddy, so she was very happy. But when he turned around, she didn't expect that and got upset. Leon asked what he was doing here. Luca answered that he heard they were making cookies, so he brought the magic stone and wanted to join them. Leon and Nanny sat in the gazebo in the garden and watched Luca handling the horse. Leon asked what exactly Luca was doing, and she heard that he was a knight. Nanny replied that she didn't know anything about Luca and didn't even remember when he came. The girl asked how long ago he came here to work as a knight. When Leon and Rebecca were having dinner, the girl asked if she knew when Luca came to the palace. The girl replied that Luca has been here since she was born. The stepmother asked what Luca does, but the girl didn't know the answer to that question. Leon had a strange feeling. If she was not mistaken, Luca is very similar to the Duke, and he is definitely a man of mystery. Astra remembered her childhood when her father told her that since she was born a girl, she would have to be useful and live for the family, and the girl obediently obeyed him. Astra was walking through the garden, followed by a maid with a tray of sweets. She thought that she would surely do it, and there were no such failures. When Leon and Rebecca baked cookies, the girl was delighted and offered to give Luca a cookie because he also helped to make them. But he said that he had to go and wished everyone a pleasant appetite. Leona suggested a tea party and planned to invite Nanny and May and thought they would really enjoy their cookies. Rebecca took a few cookies and ran to her room where there was a jeweled brooch in her jewelry box. She put those cookies in there. She told her that she would give the chocolate chip cookies to her daddy. Leon offered to enjoy the chocolate chip cookies they had worked hard to make. May offered the girl some milk, but Rebecca refused and said that she was old enough for milk and she would have tea. At this point, Leon told May to pour her milk. The princess was very surprised at this because her mom was an adult, and why was she going to drink milk? Leon answered that adults drink it too because it contains many nutrients that are good for the body, and moreover, if you dip the cookies in a glass of milk, it will be even tastier. When she saw that, Rebecca wanted milk too. She said she didn't drink milk because she was a baby, but because it tasted good. Suddenly, the door opened and Astra came in, and she said hello to the princess and told her that she was her mom-to-be, and she couldn't believe she was still eating simple snacks. She also said that she had brought an amazing brownie, and now that she was engaged to the Duke, she could play the role of mother. But Rebecca replied that she only had one mom. Astra replied that she jumped to conclusions and looked at the cookies she brought, and they are much tastier than the ones they eat. The girl said it didn't look tasty at all, and to take her crappy brownies and get the hell out of here. Astra said that the princess is too spoiled and behaves like that, disobeying her mother, and she has no choice but to punish such a child. The girl swung her fan to hit Rebecca. At that moment, Leon hugged the girl and shouted for Astra to stop doing what she was about to do. The Duke appeared and stopped Astra's hand. The girl didn't know that Duke Yang was behind her back and wanted to ask who dared to stop her. But when she saw him, but didn't know how to react, and when she looked closer, she saw Luca and took him for Duke and asked who he was. Luca said he was a knight of the Duchy of Petrie. He apologized for being rude to Astra. However, the princess is also a precious lady and not to dare touch her. She immediately said that his behavior was impertinent. Luca replied that the Duke would be back soon, and could she please wait for him in the guest room, and would she leave without greeting the Duke? Astra agreed and ordered her to escort her out. When they left, Leon asked Rebecca if she was all right and if she was hurt. The girl said that the ugly woman annoyed her and that she had spoiled their tea party. The girl thought that she didn't want to upset the girl, so she took a cookie from the table and put it in Rebecca's mouth and suggested to continue the tea party, and everyone agreed. The Duke returned to the palace after work. He wanted to return as soon as possible, but he was sure that Rebecca was upset because she wanted to spend time with her father. Suddenly, the Duke was called by a servant and said that during his absence, Princess Astra had visited the mansion. Jan Petrie gathered Astra and Leon in a room to negotiate. The Duke asked Astra if it was true that she tried to hit Rebecca, but the princess replied that she only wanted to treat the princess to a cake. However, young Miss Rebecca was too rude in her words, so she wanted to teach her discipline as a future mother. With anger in her eyes, Jan asked her again what discipline she was talking about. Astra replied that the girl should show her status. The Duke said that she was not allowed to do something like that. The girl was very angry, but she obediently agreed to the Duke's words. When Astra was leaving, Jan added that her sudden visit was rude of her. When the girl left, the Duke asked Leon if it was true that she had protected Rebecca. The girl asked him that if he were a mother, he would have watched in silence when his child was beaten, and she had done what she had to do, and she did not know who the Duke thought was Rebecca's mother. Leon wondered if the Duke knew anything about the princess. He replied that of course he does, because he is informed about everything and assures her that he knows the girl. When Leon heard this, she was angry and asked him what his daughter loved. Does he know what she loves now and what game she likes to play? But the Duke only remained silent. The girl went on to ask that does he really think he knows everything about his daughter just by getting a report, and he can't even talk to her about anything? Is there something he didn't know from the report paper? The Duke replied that she said it beautifully, but he doesn't expect her advice. The girl asked why he brought her here if he was interested in Rebecca. Leon asked if he had brought her here just to find out something about her, and that it was not too late to go and talk to her and find out what the girl wanted, since he was her father. The Duke replied that he understood why Rebecca thought differently of her and ordered her to leave now, and to leave her to him to take care of her because he had realized everything. Leon is angry that he just kicked her out, and whether or not he realized anything she said. She hoped he would do the right thing because he was a good man. Suddenly, Leona got a strange feeling and saw Luca. He asked if they were done talking and said he would take her to his room. The girl said that she had already memorized the way to her room, and at that moment she realized that she had forgotten it. A long time ago, there was magic in the world. Many people could use it because it was considered a blessing of God. In the skies flew dragons, which are now mentioned only in legends. The 5 main families that were the basis of the empire owned magic, including the Petrie family. To increase their power, they started a civil war in which the main families were wiped off the face of the earth. As magic passed from generation to generation, it weakened, and magic became forgotten. And now there is no magic in this world, but the Petrie family can use a small part of it. With the help of stones, what cannot be explained is magic. Leon asked Luca who he really is. The boy started to tell her that he is a knight of the Petrie family, Duke Jan. The girl interrupted him and said that this is not true, and what is his role really, because when Luca is around, she feels something strange. Also, he appears out of nowhere. When he is near her, she feels as if she is being controlled. And moreover, she can't remember the way to the room, even though she went there many times. And also in the mansion, nobody knows who he is, and when he came, but he somehow gets along with the people around him. He may tell her it's just a feeling, but it's probably not. Luca said that as expected, Leona is unbelievable and no one has ever tried to look into what's going on. He told her not to worry, and he wasn't a bad person. He just hoped everything worked out well. Leon asked what exactly he meant, and for him to say who he really was. Luca said that she is actually a mage, but despite that he wields a small amount of magic. He doesn't teleport, but erases moments of memory. Magic disappeared from this world long ago, and it's impossible for one to be, but that explains it. Leon asked what he hoped for by coming to this family. Luca replied that he had no evil intentions. The girl said that she couldn't believe it, and how could she trust him because he erases memories and makes others believe it? Luca replied that he was only slightly erasing the memory, not the emotions, and that he could tell her for sure. He realized that the girl didn't trust him, but he would do his best to make her believe him at least once. The guy promised Leon and said he was ready to make an agreement with her. He cast a spell that said if he lied to her, he would disappear. Luca kissed Leon's hand and said goodbye. The girl realized she hadn't learned anything and needed to ask him concrete, but she didn't think he was a bad person because Rebecca felt him like no one else. The Duke came into the girl's room and said that the princess would have guests today, so she should get ready. The princess said she hadn't heard that and said that she was playing with her mom and nanny today. The Duke told her that she can't always act like a child and how drawing is more important than meeting new friends. Rebecca said that Daddy is acting stupid again. Leon said that since they are coming to visit, they should get ready because Daddy wants the girl to have lots of friends. And if the princess was very upset after talking to Daddy, Mommy would take care of the guests and prepare everything they needed. Rebecca agreed and said that only Mom understands her and threw herself into her arms. After a while, the guests arrived. One of the girls greeted the Duchess, Miss Rebecca Petrie, and introduced herself as Marquise Lily Cuffs, and the other girl introduced herself as Jaina Nadira, daughter of Count Nadira. The girls thanked her for the invitation to tea, but the princess indifferently invited the Devo girls to the table. The girls and Leon sat at the table and drank tea with goodies. Rebecca introduced herself, and Lily said that she was very happy that she had come to the princess's tea party. Rebecca replied that it wasn't her who organized the tea party, but her dad, but the girl replied that she was happy to meet the princess anyway. The girls saw a lot of stuffed bunnies on Rebecca's couch. Lily said that she liked bunnies as a child too, but she thought that only children played with toys. Lily also said that she was surprised that the princess was looking for friends because she was from the Duke's family. Rebecca was very angry that the girls thought her toys were childish. Leon saw this and decided to offer the girls milk. They laughed and said that only newborn babies drink milk and said that they wanted tea, preferably strong tea. Leon laughed and thought that these children were too old. Lily and Jaina drank their tea and said that the tea smelled very nice and could be said to be very refined and tasted better than milk. Marquise Lily said that Rebecca better not mention that she was drinking milk and gave her some advice as she was worried about her. Rebecca looked at them angrily and said their words were as good as crap. Lily and Jaina were taken aback by Rebecca's words. The princess said that they are not becoming adults just because they drink tea. Leon supported the girl and said that both children and adults drink milk if they drink it. They can grow up faster. The girls got angry and yelled at Leon and asked her how a beggar woman like her could say such a thing, interfering in their conversation. Rebecca ordered the conversation to stop and said it was her mom. The girls were surprised at this information and said that anyone would mistake her for a servant. But Rebecca reiterated that she was her mom, and to say such a thing without knowing it was very rude. And after all, they were pretending to be adults while they were still children. Lily and Jaina exclaimed, questioning what she had just said. Rebecca replied that the only reason they were here was because she was the daughter of Duke Ian Petrie. The girls called the princess Rude, but Rebecca said that they were wrong, because they had originally started saying rude things, and what they had said to her mom was the same thing they had said to the princess. Lily replied that they were trying to give advice to the princess in a friendly way, and no one was being rude to her. The princess was surprised by their words and asked them if they could say the same thing to her in front of her father, but the girls were silent. Rebecca continued by saying that they would also be punished for being rude to her mom. Jaina said that because it wasn't the princess's mom, because her mom would be Princess Astra. Rebecca shouted that her mom is in front of them and that scary woman is not going to be her stepmom. Leon was very touched by Rebecca's words, and she was embarrassed. Suddenly, Jaina said that they said all they had to say was to just greet the princess and then speak rudely, and then they would get a reward. Rebecca asked who ordered them to do such a thing. Jaina replied that the woman said that the princess needed to be educated and should be punished. Leon suggested that Princess Astra might have set it up. Jaina wanted to continue her speech, but Lily stopped her. Rebecca said that Lady Astra, or whatever her name was, had put them up to it and tricked them into leaving. When the girls left, Leon asked if Rebecca was all right. The girl said she would go and scold her stupid dad right away. The princess ran off to Daddy's room. Duke asked if her friends had left. Rebecca screamed and said, "What kind of friends are they? And that her daddy is an idiot, and why does he keep doing things like that?" Ian asked what happened and if she didn't like those girls. The princess replied that she didn't need friends and that she didn't want him to do that anymore. The Duke asked, does she really not need friends after all? She liked Leona because she was kind to her as a friend. The girl said he was wrong, and her mom is there to protect her and listen to her. But those kids sided with Astra and were mean to her. The Duke believed Rebecca and suggested that she tell him what she knew. The princess told him that they made fun of her bunny dolls and made fun of her mom, and that she hates those kids. Don't her dad want Rebecca to be friends with them and wants the princess to feel depressed? Duke apologized to Rebecca and said he made the mistake of rushing and not checking with her. At this time, a servant approached the Duke and said that they should be going now. Ian explained to the girl that he was busy today, and so she needed to go to her room and suggested they talk about it later. Rebecca got really angry when she heard those words and said that he was just like those kids and she didn't want to see him anymore. She kicked the Duke and showed her tongue. She also said she didn't want a daddy who doesn't listen to her and always says the same thing, so she would leave on her own and ran away. Everyone in the palace was looking for the girl and could not find her, and the search took a long time. Leon suggested that there might be a rabbit hole in the mansion. Otherwise, how could the child disappear right in front of their eyes? The nanny turned to Leon and said that she knew where Rebecca was because before Lady Leon came, the princess had often played there. Even after she had been kicked out of her position as nanny, and she was definitely there now because she often brought her cookies there. Suddenly, behind the stacks of books, Leon saw the princess and her rabbit sitting on the books. The stepmother turned to the rabbit and asked if he knew where Rebecca was now, and that her mother was worried about her, and if he knew, could he tell her? The girl hid behind the rabbit and lifted his paw and said that Rebecca was fine, and that she was not to worry. Leon was happy, and said that could the rabbit tell the princess that she should be careful and not get hurt, and the girl replied that Rebecca was fine. The time was nearing evening and Rebecca still hadn't left the room. Leona decided to see how, but it turned out that the girl had fallen asleep right on top of a book. The stepmother decided to move her to the crib because the floor was probably uncomfortable to sleep on. She saw that the book Rebecca was sleeping on was called Black and White Rabbit. The text in it was a little blurry, probably because someone had written the book themselves. It said that a rabbit who lived happily with his family in a nice little village. He ate well and was strong and brave. On rainy days, he would quietly sneak into the yellow rabbit's bed and fall asleep. One day, Papa and Mama rabbits went to pick raspberries in the woods, but were shot by a hunter. Yellow and Black Rabbit were left alone, and they were sad. They hugged each other and spent every day. When the rabbits grew up so that they could live independently and pick raspberries even on rainy days, one day the Yellow Rabbit could not get out of bed. The Black Rabbit was no longer a child, so he sat silently next to the Yellow Rabbit. The Yellow Rabbit never woke up from his long sleep. The Black Rabbit stayed alone and did not leave the house, not even to eat raspberries. On rainy afternoons, he thought only of the Yellow Rabbit and was sad. But one day, he heard crying coming from the forest on a rainy day. A baby white rabbit was crying alone in the forest. A Black Rabbit brought the baby white rabbit and fed him raspberries. The White Rabbit greedily ate the raspberries and cried for the first time in a long time. A smile appeared on the Black Rabbit's face. Leon thought that it was a children's book written by someone, and she was curious to know who wrote it. The princess was sleeping in her bed, and the girl was thinking about how to improve the relationship between Duke Ian and Rebecca. Suddenly, someone touched her shoulder. It turned out to be Duke Ian. He grabbed the girl's hand and ordered her to follow him. When they got to the Duke's room, Leon asked indignantly what he wanted to do. The Duke said it was all her fault because Rebecca was not the kind of child to say bad words. As soon as Leon got here, things were different. The girl asked why he was so angry and blamed her for everything, and if he hated Leon being around Rebecca so much, and the Duke said that she was right, the girl didn't know what to do because she just wanted to help improve things between them. She wanted them to be happy, and she couldn't believe it was all because of her. Leon turned to Ian and asked if he knew what was in Rebecca's jewelry box. In the treasure box, there are things that a child appreciates. One of those things was a brooch with a red gemstone and a rabbit-shaped cookie prepared and kept there. The Duke asked what she was trying to say with that. He asked if he had done something wrong. After all, he was just trying to protect the princess, and yet he didn't want to take Leon no matter her silver hair. Rebecca was more precious to him than life, but because of her, she doesn't want to see the Duke. So he ordered the girl to leave, because if she leaves, everything will go back to the way it was. He said he'd give anything to get her to leave. The girl was indignant, thinking he wanted to throw money at her and order her to leave. Like a madman, if things were different, she would stubbornly stand her ground. His look and action is like saying she is a bystander and standing between them. Leon told the Duke that she would leave and asked him to do a favor for her. She asked that the Duke be there for Rebecca, and she asked this every time, and maybe it's the only one, but the child's heart is starting to close, and that he not avoid talking to her because of busyness or pride. After all, no matter who says what, but the child misses her daddy because she loves him and considers him her family. At this, she finished and said goodbye. The Duke called her and offered to give her a bag of money, but the girl replied that she was not here for money, but for Rebecca's happiness. When the girl had already left the palace, she thought about the fact that the place where she met Rebecca no longer exists, and she ended up being like the other stepmothers. And the girl would most likely hate her. She hoped that the princess would not be tormented too much because she was the one who broke her promise. And the only person who would be there for her was her daddy, and they should be the best father and daughter they could be. It had been a few days since Leon had left, and her legs were very sore. Probably because she was living in a mansion and her stamina had become poor. The girl remembered the pact she had made with Luca and wondered if there was any magic left in this world. After counting a few books, she realized that Luca had not lied, and he was surprisingly reliable. But what did it matter now that he was someone she would never see again? But she felt better, because Luca was not someone who would do anything bad to Rebecca. She was walking through the city and noticed a temple in front of her. There is no magic in this world anymore, and the only thing people have left is faith in the god of Amedia. There are temples and shrines, and the imperial family has close ties to the temple, and sometimes they are entrusted with important matters for the empire. And maybe there are traces of magic left somewhere. Maybe there's a way to put things back the way they were. But only maybe. Maybe the Petri family, with ties to the imperial family, has a chance to learn Luca's identity, but she no longer has anything to do with the Petri family. She can't give up her desire to make Rebecca happy. Leon entered the temple and was greeted by a woman. She asked why she came here. Leon replied that she wanted to pray, and she needed to find out what she could do right now. When the girl was in the temple, the woman looked at her contemptuously and invited her to take a seat. Leon did not like the evaluating look of that woman, but she thought that nothing good would come out of the scandal. The girl observed such a picture as the woman approached the richer woman and chatted sweetly with her, and after a while she gave her a bag of money. She thought about the fact that she had no intention of becoming religious, but it wasn't very nice to see. After all, the temple has been reduced to a means of making money. It seems to be hard to learn about magic here if it has completely disappeared. The girl asked herself for Rebecca, that she would not be hurt, and that she would always have a smile on her face. If there is a God, let him erase her from her memory, because such an existence of a mother hurts more. Forgetting Leon will not give her a chance to leave painful memories. Let her grow up a happy child. Suddenly, a man who was wearing a black cloak came up to Leon. The girl was frightened and asked why he was looking at her like that, because she didn't remember that they knew each other. The man said it was the first time they had met. He said his name was Caleb and that his name meant Dogka. He also said he had a funny name. The girl agreed and introduced herself as well. The man said she had a nice name and handed her a gold coin and told her to take it and buy something with it. Leon didn't take it and decided to leave in a hurry, saying she had a lot of things to do. The man said that what Leona wished would come true and God would fulfill it, and that she should live in faith. The girl thanked him and said goodbye. When the girl left, a group of people approached Caleb. They said they were looking for him, the Honorable Mr. Caleb Benedict Samuel. They asked why the man was dressed like that. Caleb said that sometimes it was good to hear other people's stories. He said that His Majesty the Emperor was coming soon and that they had to go to an important place, so they should prepare, and that he sensed a sign. The boy asked Caleb what he meant. Caleb said that they would know God's will when the time came, and he hoped that he and Leona would meet again. Leona walked down the street. She said that only one gold coin had been given away, and there was no trace of magic, and where to go if she thought about it. There is a port nearby. There is a ship that goes to the Middle Countries, and she thought about getting on the ship. Suddenly, she bumped into a man and apologized, saying that she wasn't looking where she was going, and that man turned out to be Luca. The girl was very surprised and asked why he was here. The guy said that he came because he was worried about her. Leon asked if they were afraid that she wouldn't leave the child and that he shouldn't worry because she would leave on the ship. Luca said that they haven't seen each other after 3 days, but she's still as brave. The girl asked what he meant. The guy put his hand on her head and said that her mind is clouded. She is upset because of what she couldn't do, or it's because of the excitement Rebecca and her heart is having a hard time. He also said that she shouldn't be afraid to cry because it's normal. Leona pushed him away and asked him what right he had to comfort her, and it must be funny to look at her to tell the Duke later. Luca said that she was just like Rebecca, trying to pretend to be strong to cover up weakness. The girl asked that he didn't know anything about her to say those things there. Luca said it just seems that way to him. Leon asked why he is on his side and tells her such words. Luca said that the Duke does not know what he is doing, so she cannot worry because he will not tell him anything about her, and the girl cried right in front of him. When she calmed down, Luca asked her where she was going and if she wanted to leave the place. Leon said that she wanted to leave and was trying to do so, and that she hoped Rebecca wasn't hurt. Luca asked what about the Duke. The girl said that she hated him more than life. Luca asked if he had a good side. Leon said that he didn't have any good sides and that he was not a good man from his father. Luca held out his hand to the girl and told her that if she wanted to leave, he would help her. If she wanted to come back, he would bring her back, and asked if he could help her. He took the girl by the waist, and the minute they found themselves on a ship in the middle of the ocean. Leon wanted to go to the harbor, but thought it would really be much faster there. Luca turned to the girl and said that he wanted the girl to be happy, and asked her what she really wanted to go or stay. Leon wondered what she really wanted, and if Luca could bring her back to a world where no one was waiting for her, and she wanted to be near someone who was waiting for her, and near someone who loved her. Luca said that actually Duke Ian is looking for her too. The girl didn't believe him, and said that he was lying because he had kicked her out first, and now he was looking for her. A hand closed her eyes, and she saw the Duke come to her house and ask her parents where she was, and they said they didn't know. The Duke was puzzled and asked indignantly how they didn't know her whereabouts since she was their daughter. Or maybe they could tell where she was and where she went, Or maybe they knew her friends, but they said they didn't know. Luca said he just showed her the situations at Celine's house using magic. The Duke regrets kicking her out, but he's not sure he can find her. Luca said that Ian is a weak man and doesn't even know his feelings, and the best thing he can do is to show his anger towards his beloved family. The guy asked what she wished for. Leon replied that she gets angry when she thinks about the Duke, but she misses Rebecca, so she wants to go back, and she asked Luca to send her where she wants to go, but she doesn't know if she can go back. Luca replied that even if he can't do everything, he asks her to come to him because he misses her. The girl came to her house and saw that the front door was broken from inside. There was a scream from the Duke, and he was talking about how they don't know her location and they can't be called her family. At that moment, Leon came up and said that she didn't think he would say that. If someone saw that picture, they would think that he had come because he missed her, but he had kicked her out. The Duke replied that it was a simple misunderstanding. The girl replied that she came here because of the noise. But why did he come all the way here? Jan replied that it wasn't for nothing, and he was wrong, and he couldn't find her, so he came several times and said he was ashamed. The Duke suggested Leon to come back because he had something to say. The girl replied that thanks to someone she had been walking all night to the city, and that he should not be silly, because if he wanted to tell her something, he could do it during the trip. Suddenly, the girl was grabbed by her father's hand and told him that the Duke had come to see them several times. Jan told how she was suffering, and he thought it was worth discussing everything right now. Leon asked if he wanted to ask for a price for the broken door. Leon was amazed at their first words after being separated from her daughter. It had been a long time, and they wouldn't ask how she was doing. The parents replied that they were in a hurry and didn't have time to ask, although they didn't really care because they were only interested in money. Leon said that the compensation for her broken forehead was enough. Leon looked at the way their parents were dressed and saw a lot of luxurious jewelry and said she didn't think they would spend it all. It looked like they were having a great time thanks to her injury. Leona's parents said they spent it out of need, and how can she say that? Leona said that she was no longer a part of their family and no more money was coming into the house in her name, so they wouldn't even hope. Her parents did not want to lose the money, so they tried to keep her and said that she had changed a lot. Leona replied that why sacrifice herself for the good of the family, and from now on she will not return, and will live well today. She is a person without family, so that they do not try to contact her. Since there was no family originally, she will not be hurt by anyone, and said goodbye to them. When Leon and the Duke were returning to the palace, Jan asked how she was feeling. The girl replied that she was fine, but why was he looking for her? The Duke replied that after the day he kicked her out, not a day was peaceful, and everything she said was true. And after she left following her advice, he went to talk to Rebecca, and the girl cried a lot when she found out she was gone, and after that she told him something. Rebecca said she didn't want to see him again, to get out. The Duke said she didn't leave because of her. The girl cried and said she doesn't have a mom again like she used to. The princess said that she never once spent her birthday with her daddy, and the book said that birthdays are happy days. But she was always alone, and he never told her that he loved her or that she was good. Rebecca loved spending time with her mom who played with her, not with her dad who bought her presents. And now she was very sad and was asking for him to bring her back. It felt like a tangled thread, and he realized what an idiot he was, and after his mind went blank. He thought he would be fine without her, but he was wrong, and it was very stupid of him. Duke admitted he was wrong. He's afraid of losing his daughter, but he did what he shouldn't have done. And he said he's not afraid if Leon doesn't forgive him, he just wants her to be a mom to Rebecca. The Duke doesn't ask for more than that and will give her anything she wants. Leon jokingly asks if he'll give her the mine of magic stones. Ian replied that he would if she asked. He would give her anything. Leon was shocked because even the emperor wants to get the mine, and he would give it to her for nothing. The girl asked him why he had a wife that would become a mother for Rebecca. The Duke said that he had sorted it out so that she wouldn't worry about it, and now the place belonged to her alone. Leon asked him what that meant. Ian replied that she may hate him, but he was asking to be a mom to Rebecca. Leon said that she wouldn't forgive him even if she died. As he's the worst person in her eyes, she's doing this for the child she loves. The Duke thanked her. All Leon realized from this incident is what she really wants. It's not about returning her world or another. She wants to be near Rebecca. As the girl walked to the princess's room, it was very exciting. She didn't know how the girl would react, whether she would be happy to see her, or start yelling why she came back, or be angry with her. And Leon would prefer the option of being angry with her. She would have to try her best for many days. But whatever Rebecca said, she would accept it because she was her mother. When Leon entered the girl's room, she was greeted by Nanny and May. They said she was very much expected. When the girl asked where Rebecca was, they pointed to a corner near the couch where she was sitting sad. Leon said her mom was here, but Rebecca said she didn't have a mom. The girl apologized to the princess, but the girl replied that it was her fault and she didn't have a mom. Leon understood that Rebecca was angry and said that as a mom, she would stay here until Rebecca herself wanted to approach her. But the girl replied to leave, and she didn't want to see her. Leon picked up the rabbit and put it in front of her face and said it wasn't mommy, it was the rabbit. Leon's heart ached when Rebecca got angry, but it's better to spend time like this and she's happy around the girl. Princess said that when Daddy kicked Mommy out, he said she would come back, so she waited for her. But it hurt more to think if he didn't come back. She waited for her, and she had nightmares dreaming about her mom leaving without even turning around when she asked her not to go, but she was leaving, putting her in. Leon said she wasn't leaving again, but the girl said she was lying. Leon said she was telling the truth and promised her she would be there for Rebecca.